The 2018 Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series season will be remembered for many things. Hendrick Motorsport's worst season in 30 years, Jimmy Johnson going winless for the first time, Austin Dillon winning the Daytona 500, Clint Bowyer snapping his 6-year winless streak, Stewart-Haas Racing's most dominant season, the thrilling finish at Chicagoland, Kevin Harvick moving Kyle Busch at Loudon, the debut of the Charlotte Roval, Furniture Row Racing shutting down just 1 year after their championship season, Joey Logano roughing up Martin Truex Jr., Chase Elliott's first win, and much more. But what most people remember about this season is the big three, Kyle Busch, Kevin Harvick, and Martin Truex Jr., who in 2018 combined for 20 wins in 36 races. These three drivers absolutely dominated the 2018 season, but how would their battle shape up without the playoffs? Well, today we're going to find out. Let's break down the 2018 season. In the first 6 races, we would see 4 different winners. Austin Dillon would win the Daytona 500. Kevin Harvick would go on to win 3 races in a row at Atlanta, Las Vegas, and Phoenix. Defending Cup champion Martin Truex Jr. would win the snoozer at Auto Club, and Clint Bowyer would snap a 190-race winless streak by winning at Martinsville. After the first 6 races, defending champion Martin Truex Jr. would seem to pick up right where he left off by leading the standings by 8 points over Kyle Busch, and there would be 10 different drivers within 1 race of each other. Over the next 6 races, we would only have 3 winners. Kyle Busch would go 3 in a row at Texas, Bristol, and Richmond. Joey Logano would win the race at Talladega, and Kevin Harvick would go back-to-back at Dover and Kansas. After these 6 races, Kevin Harvick would take over the points lead with finishes of 2nd, 7th, 5th, 4th, 1st, and 1st. This would be enough to vault him up into the lead by just 1 point over Joey Logano and 13 points over Kyle Busch. And now you may be asking what happened to Truex. Well, he would have 3 DNFs in the next 6 races, and this inconsistency would drop him down to 6th, 68 points back. At Charlotte, the lead would change hands. Kyle Busch would dominate the race, leading 377 of 400 laps en route to win and take the lead over Joey Logano, who had a rough night, finishing 22nd. And he was now back by 12 points from Kyle Busch. But Kevin Harvick would have the worst possible night.
The bumps, the car would just get sideways. That's where the wheel hop situation would come in. But the car tightened up right before the pit stop. This run, the car has gone to the free side. Oh, and he's in the wall. Harvick.
Kevin Harvick has slammed the wall in turn 3. Jamie.
Well, just on the radio on the 4, just said he thinks he blew a right front tire.
He would finish last in this race, and he is now 3rd, 31 points back. At Pocono, Kyle Busch would finish 3rd and Kevin Harvick 4th, but both would score the exact same amount of points. Joey Logano would come home 9th and was now 20 points behind in 2nd. At Michigan, Kevin Harvick would finish 2nd while Busch would finish 4th and would slightly shrink the gap to 27 points. Logano would finish 7th and was now 23 points behind in 2nd. At Sonoma, Kevin Harvick would once again finish 2nd while Kyle Busch finished 5th and would close the gap to 23 points. Joey Logano would have a mediocre day, finishing 19th and was now 3rd, 37 points behind Kyle Busch. At Chicagoland, Kyle Busch would win the race in thrilling fashion, and Kevin Harvick wouldn't be far behind, finishing 3rd to grow the gap to 29 points. Joey Logano would finish 8th, and despite having a solid day, he would fall out of contention and is now 48 points back. At Daytona, both drivers would crash out, but Kevin Harvick would do so much later in the race and finish 19th, while Busch would finish 33rd. And now at the halfway mark of the season, the Big 3 narrative would set in. In the first 18 races, Truex, Harvick, and Busch would combine for 13 wins. That is 72% of the races run, and we were only halfway through the season. At Kentucky, Martin Truex Jr. would prevail, winning the race. Kyle Busch would come home 4th to retain his lead by 16 points over Kevin Harvick, who finished 5th. Truex would take a chunk out of Busch's lead and now had it down to 29 points. The next race at New Hampshire, Kevin Harvick and Kyle Busch would clash for the win.
Kyle comes off the corner, looks in the mirror.
He's going to peek at him this time. He's going to enter a little bit lower.
You come off the corner and look in the mirror and see nothing but the hood of that Busch car. Look at that.
Oh, he wrinkled the quarter panel. He hit him so hard.
Pushed him up.
Those are nudges. That's racing.
And finish exit down there. Do what you've been doing. Keep them rears attached.
That's aggressive, but that's good hard racing. Oh, he puts him out of the groove there.
Oh, man. I don't know about hard racing. He moves him.
He moved him good there.
Get away from him is all I can tell you. You better gap him.
With this, Harvick would win the race over Kyle Busch in second and would shrink the gap to 12 points. Truex finished fourth and was now 31 points behind. At Pocono, Kyle Busch would find redemption and win while Harvick would finish fourth and was now 19 points behind. Truex would have a mediocre day, finishing 15th and was now out of contention, 50 points back. At Watkins Glen, Kyle Busch would finish third while Harvick would finish 10th and was now 27 points behind. At Michigan, Kevin Harvick would dominate and win the race while Kyle Busch would finish third. This would bring the gap down to 21 points. At Bristol, Kevin Harvick would have a relatively uneventful night, finishing in 10th, but Kyle Busch could not say the same.
And a pile up in the middle. The 18 of Kyle Busch is around. Contact, they're rolling in there. Greg Gaulding hits late.
And Steve, you said it.
I don't know if they got the left front or
Just
not.
because you have a great car doesn't mean you're going to avoid these kind of things. It's lap 2. Already in red.
And you see the 18 pull away. The tail panel damaged very heavily. The left front tire took a very hard shot. We'll have to see.
All the rear sheet metal's KO'd.
They're still 3 wide. This won't last long.
Those tires on the 11 are helping him hold that top position. And look at this squeeze down the front stretch.
Chris Buescher drops back after.
Chris Buescher's got a right front tire down.
Well, and a lot of smoke coming out of the 18 as well of Kyle Busch after that contact. Now battle again for the lead. Clint Boyer on the inside tries to take it back.
Kyle Busch has some trouble. He's got a left rear tire down.
All that contact between those cars, and the tires just can't take that.
Left rear down, he'll have to come back to pit road, trying to find a way to the bottom of the track. Around goes the 18.
They got the left front on the wall. Yellow.
That brings out the caution.
Even with all that trouble, Kyle Busch would limit the damage by finishing 20th. With 12 races to go, the battle would be set between Kyle Busch and Kevin Harvick. Busch going for his first Cup title, and Harvick for his 4th championship. At the Southern 500, Harvick would finish 4th while Kyle Busch would come home in 7th, slightly shrinking the gap to 7 points. At Indianapolis, Kevin Harvick would have another 4th place finish while Kyle Busch would finish 8th, shrinking the gap to just 3 points. At Las Vegas, Kyle Busch would have a solid day, finishing 7th, but Kevin Harvick's season almost went down the drain.
Here, right front unraveling.
Hey, we just blew a tire, guys. We're in the fence hard.
What you can't see or feel is the 20 car gets in the back of the 4 here once he's in the fence.
Oh, that's a sickening sound when that thing comes apart. It's like a bomb goes off in there. It scares you to death. And then here comes Eric Jones. And both of these guys, you said it, Rick, this is the first race of the playoffs, and Eric Jones does not have a whole lot of playoff points. Kevin Harvick does have some, but already before the end of the second stage in the first race, both of these guys have a lot of ground to make up.
How fortunate for the 88 and the 48. They're in front of the 4 because he was coming up the racetrack straight regardless. Same unfortunate thing for the 20.
With that race, he was now 35 points behind Kyle Busch and would need to string together some consistent finishes in order to catch him. That wouldn't be helped because the next race at Richmond, Kyle Busch would win with Harvick in second, and he was now 39 points back. Harvick needed something to happen in order for him to catch Busch, and that something would happen in the next race at the inaugural Charlotte Roval race.
And the Tums heartburn turn. Caution coming out again.
Yeah, I just had no grip. Overdrove it. My fault.
Trevor Bayne in the 6 also involved.
We talked about these drivers. This is the first time they've been on old tires on restarts. The first time at this racetrack, you just don't have a reference to go by. And you heard Brad Keselowski say he just didn't have any grip. He overdrove it.
With Busch having his issues, Harvick would capitalize on his misfortunes with a 9th place finish. This put Kevin Harvick 16 points back behind and back in the fight. At Dover, Harvick would finish a solid 6th while Kyle Busch would finish 8th, and with 6 races to go, he was now just 13 points back. Kyle Busch was looking for his first title and Harvick for his fourth, but with 6 races to go, it was now crunch time. At Talladega, Kyle Busch would finish 26th with Harvick in 28th and would grow the gap to 14 points. At Kansas, Kyle Busch would finish 2nd and Harvick would have a mediocre day finishing 12th. It would grow the gap to 23 points. At Martinsville, Busch would outrun Harvick with a 4th place, but Harvick back in 10th. This would grow the gap to 30 points with 3 races to go. At Texas, Kevin Harvick would bounce back with a win, and Kyle Busch would finish 17th and would significantly shrink the gap to 9 points. At Phoenix, Kyle Busch would answer with a win on Kevin Harvick's most dominant track, while Harvick would finish 5th, and he was now 18 points behind going into the final race at Homestead. These 2 drivers were having the best seasons of this career, and both of them were having championship caliber seasons. But it would be a shame that one of them would come up just short. If Kevin Harvick were to win the title, Kyle Busch would have to finish 14th or worse. If Busch were to win the title, all he would have to do was finish 13th. At Homestead, Busch qualified 2nd and Harvick 12th. During the race, both drivers would run the top 5 for most of the race, with both even leading laps. But this would be bad news for Harvick. Even though he would have a solid night finishing 3rd, Busch would finish 4th and clinch his first Cup championship. So with that, the narrative would have been very similar. There would be a big 3, but it would be whittled down to just 2 with 12 races left. The championship 4 in real life would actually finish 1, 2, 3, 4 in the standings, albeit in a different order. Well, that'll do it for today, guys. Thank you for watching, and there will be no video next week because of Thanksgiving, so I'll see you in 2 weeks for 2019.